update. My 23 female friend, 22 female, just asked me to play the violin in her wedding. I do not and have never played the violin. Also, I think she might literally be going insane. Like, really. Original story. So, my friend from school asked me to be in her wedding over lunch today. I've known this girl about 2 years, and because we have the same major, we are school friends. We partner up in classes, do projects together, etc., but I don't really know or hang out with her outside this setting. Anyways, she asked me to be in her wedding, and I assumed as a bridesmaid. But I was wrong. She said she had had a dream of her perfect wedding, and it was so beautiful she woke up crying. Wrote it all down and cried for hours because it was just so beautiful and perfect. She even made some sketches and said this was a vision from God for a wedding, and she couldn't even explain the warmth and ecstatic love to me because she didn't have the words, but that she would do anything to capture it perfectly. She then likened herself to an artist with divine inspiration and went on for about 20 minutes about the details of her inspiration and how beautiful and uniting this wedding would be. That it would change lives and be so much more than a ceremony, and that the execution was so perfect it would be more of a visual statement, an artistic dedication to love that everyone would be a living part of. In this beautiful perfect wedding, I am to the front left on the aisle, playing violin as her guests arrive, in a long white gown, feathered and beaded and soft, very romantic. I'll know it when I see it. I laughed and told her I've never played the violin before, and as such may have a hard time performing for her guests. She told me that I had a year to learn, and that this was extremely important to her. I looked at what I could of her beautiful wedding notes. They seem really insane. Lots of stuff feverishly circled or written over and over like, "Inspect what you expect," over and over, and all in white, literally scribbled over other words, all in the margins, copied into big paragraphs. The part she showed me of my role just said my name. Violin, soft and complex, beautiful and intricate, a concerto, lots of detail. Wow, the guests. I don't know how to play violin at all. I've literally never touched one. She sounded like she was on something talking about it. She was feverish and flitting from topic to topic, and talking about how maybe I could compose something. But she wanted it to sound so intricate that no one would believe it was just one person playing it. It seems beyond normal bride stuff, and when I told her even if I did have a year to learn to play, it would be basic at best. She slammed her hand on the table and said, "Stop." Then went right back to her cheery, excited talk about her divine wedding. I very gently tried to refuse, and told her that this wedding sounded really important, and that I would be happy to try to find a professional to play for her, and she just said, no, it has to be you. I'm sure of it. And went right back to talking, as if I had suggested I wearing a hat to the beach. Just really casually dismissed. Then she dropped a bomb. Besides, I already bought your violin, and it was almost $2,000. What? I don't know how to play. I told her she was being insane. But she just kept making no noises, or putting up her hands or saying enough. Eventually, she just said the violin would be here in a few weeks, and that I needed to find someone that gives lessons and learn, and that she believed in me. She told me that worst case scenario, I get to learn a skill most people would love to learn, and that if I do well, I can have the violin as payment. But I don't want a violin. I don't play. Then she left, and here I am, dumbfounded. I can't exactly cut ties and run. It is summer now, but we have a class together currently, and 3 classes together in the fall. I can only see her getting crazier about this. She's scaring me, and while she's always had a flair for the dramatics, she's never been this crazy before. I'm not really sure if this is just mega bridezilla and she will get over it, or if I should just pretend I don't know her, or if I should call a Lunabin to come pick her up. Or just take up the violin and hope whatever god of weddings visited her grants me magical powers. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Hey, this sounds a lot like a manic episode. A classic symptom is to take an interest like that to an extreme, and coupled with the euphoria, fast talking, magical thinking, and compulsive nature of her speech, it really reminds me of the mania I've encountered in my life. I'll say it's impossible to diagnose this stuff over the internet, but read up on the symptoms and see what you think. The tough part is that, if it's true, it's hard to do anything about until it's extreme enough to warrant commitment, possible harm to self or others, though it depends on where you live. Whatever you do, try not to tell her she's crazy or needs medication, as this will alienate her whether it's true or not. Anyway, I don't want to go too far down this road if I'm wrong, but feel free to ask more questions if not. Good luck. Came here to say this, but you worded it perfectly. Sounds like a manic episode. Opie, get in touch with her fiancé and tell him about this. Ask him if she's okay or if he's noticed anything strange. I think you should mention something to her fiancé and her family. This sounds like it is potentially very serious, not a temper tantrum or demands. Something is very wrong. I'm Facebook friends with her fiancé. What do I even say? I'm sure she's told him about this dream of hers. Yeah, but does he know that she spent $2,000 on a violin to give to a friend who has never played a violin and has no desire to learn? At the very least, you could contact her fiancé and ask for help in refusing. Say that you have tried to refuse this request, but she's really steamrolling you. Tell him that you are not going to be playing the violin at the ceremony, and you need his help getting that information through to the bride. I mean, that way you're getting the fiancé involved with a crazy that's affecting you. From there, hopefully you can notice the more crazy things that are happening, or rein this girl in a bit. What? Have been playing the violin for 15 years and would still be nervous to perform a solo in front of a wedding. And it wouldn't sound as good as this lady's describing. It takes a lot of work to even sound good on a violin. Have you heard grade schoolers play? I would have to start practicing a solo now, and I know how to play. And now for the update. So, I sent a modified original post to her fiancé, and added after, I'm really worried because this seems pretty mentally unstable, way beyond normal bride stuff. Then I got his reply on Facebook from her, not her fiancé, at about 2 p.m. today. I didn't see it because she deleted me from her friends, and it went to a different mailbox. Thanks so much for trying to tell my husband I'm crazy. Thank God he understands what it is like to love someone, and what planning a wedding is all about. Excuse me that I have a dream I'm passionate about. Trust me, if you ever get a ring with that attitude, you will understand too, but I doubt it. Nice trying to get between us, but guess what, sweetie? Nothing could tear us apart. Least of all, you. Ha 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 ha. You're clearly jealous, and that makes me feel really bad for you. Then about an hour ago, I got a message from her fiancé. A long message. The too long didn't read is that she went freaking nuts on a florist because he couldn't do her entire wedding in Wisteria. The horror. Almost got arrested for making a scene in a store. Then he found out she has spent her financial aid / student loan money for the second half of summer and the fall in random wedding stuff like my violin, and has been booking venue tours and tastings with ridiculous expensive prices. If anyone's familiar with Texas, she's looking at doing her wedding in a giant castle in that ritzy Lake Travis part of Austin. You know, by the huge multi-million-dollar mansions. So I told her about the need for a budget and being realistic, and she threw an epic freaking fit. At this point, she left and went to her sister's house. I messaged him back saying that she may be bipolar and in a manic state, and to ask her sister to maybe get her to a doctor. But he was more upset and focused on being hurt at what she had said to him about the wedding than her. She threw a right little tantrum and accused us of sleeping together. I told him that needless to say, I would not be playing violin in their wedding, and that I was sorry for any trouble. But I really did think it was best he seek some mental health help for her. He said, "You made your point. You don't need to rub it in. I can take care of my family." I told him I understood and wished them the best. And I guess that is that. I didn't see her in class today though, and it looks like she won't be coming back for the fall unless she has a plan to get more money. Thank you for the help, everyone. I really did appreciate having a few hundred friends in this. The husband-to-be is still absorbing new information that he is reluctant to absorb. His best case scenario is that she is reckless bridezilla. He may want to be in denial with that for a while. I wouldn't be surprised if the OP gets messaged later confirming the bipolar diagnosis. I would be totally surprised if OP gets messaged later, but I would not be surprised with a bipolar diagnosis. You made your point. You don't need to rub it in. I can take care of my family. It sounds like he's still taking what OP said personally. Almost like he thinks she's being sarcastic instead of genuine when she says she needs medical help. Wow. Well, good on you for trying to reach out to the fiancé. Now that he is informed, how they deal with it is up to them. I think you can walk away with a completely clear conscience. And don't take her jab personally. You know she's not all there right now. You did great. OP, thanks for the update. Hey, I'm redoing my garden and would like a full-size replica of the Taj Mahal as a centerpiece. I can get some stones if you can Google architecture. I'd like you to build it for me. If it's not too much, of course. By next Wednesday. Next story. My 35 male family won't come to my wedding because I haven't forgiven my relative, 36 male, for violating my ex. Looking for how I should handle this situation. Short story background info is a decade ago. I was engaged and my relative got drunk with my then fiancé after meeting for the first time and violated her. We ended up splitting a year after because she didn't feel comfortable around my family anymore, constantly being reminded of the night of the accident. I haven't spoken to that relative since, completely dropped him from my life, which has caused a tear in the family. I'm now happily engaged to a woman I love and have sent invitations, but none of the extended family has accepted because they are mad that I haven't forgiven my relative. They say, well, if you didn't do that, then you never would have met your current fiancé. And blood is thicker than water. To me, the ends don't justify the means, and family shouldn't get an automatic pass when it comes to stuff like this. They also say I should believe him and that it was consensual, instead of my crazy ex. But even if that were the case, it takes two people, and I've lost all respect for him and don't need that in my life. I'd love for them to be at the wedding, but if I have to make amends with this relative, then I'm okay with them not coming. As much as I didn't want there to be sides, it seems like they've chosen them already. I'd like to reach out to them to plead my case, but I'm not sure if that's the right play. Thanks in advance for any advice. Now for the advice. Anyone who faults you for insisting that your wedding be an offender-free zone is telling on themselves. No kidding. They're freaking disgusting. Personally, I just let them make their decision and leave it. Less plates to pay for at the wedding. It's great you moved on, and if there are things to hash out, I'd leave it to do after the wedding. You have enough stress going on. What do you think it would look like to plead your case to your family? What is the best case scenario? What is the worst case scenario? Best case scenario is that my family comes to the wedding and not let my relationship with that one family member affect their relationship with me. Worst case is that they choose to side with him and drop me from their lives. If they're calling your ex crazy because she was upset about being violated, are these people, family or not, whose feelings you should cuddle? Edit. This got bigger than I expected. I appreciate everyone taking the time to comment. I'll let them come to me. I said I like them there, but if they want to take sides, I'm okay dropping them too. It's in their court, and I'm not going to spend my energy justifying my feelings to them. Just wanted to say thanks again to the kind advice and for reinforcing my thoughts on the situation. The wedding is in a few months, and I'm going to enjoy the hell out of the day no matter what. Last story is titled, My 30 female close friend 37 female is relying on my husband 35 male for emotional support, and it's making me uncomfortable. The other day, my husband and I met our mutual friend at the pool with our daughters. We have known this friend and her husband for the better part of a decade and have all become quite close. About a year ago, she moved out of her home she shared with her husband to escape the marriage, which had turned abusive. I offered a lot of support to her in this time, offering our home to her and her children and helping to put her in touch with many different resources. I also offered my shoulder at any time she needed it and have encouraged her every step of the way. My husband and I have spent a lot of sleepless nights trying to ensure the health and well-being of everyone involved. It is a relief that she has initiated the divorce process and can begin to move on with the life she deserves, and we continue to support her. Recently, she offered to help us with a small errand while we were out of town. My husband met with her to exchange info prior to us leaving town, and it took him about an hour longer than he had planned. He called on his way home to let me know that he was running late as upon his arrival. She began to talk with him about her struggles with the divorce and was sobbing. I didn't think of it at the time, other than to feel badly for her and to make sure I checked in with her. When she arrived at the pool with her girls, we were applying sunscreen to all the kids. I asked if she wanted help applying hers as she's quite fair-skinned and did not have anyone to assist her. She said she did not need help. We all kind of stood awkwardly for a minute, and then I took all the kids with me across the park and into the pool. I noticed after a short time that my husband and friend had not come along. When I looked back to the area they had last been, my husband was applying sunscreen to her. She showed him something on her phone, and they stood and talked for about 5 minutes before joining me. Something about it made me feel extremely uncomfortable, and I kept it to myself for the majority of the day and played with the kids. But they both could tell I wasn't up for chat. Today, she messaged me and asked if I'm okay as I didn't seem like myself. I trust my husband and I also trust my friend. She has never in our friendship done anything to make me feel she isn't trustworthy. She struggles with a significant amount of anxiety and is obviously going through a difficult time, and I have always tried to support her. Likewise, my husband has never done anything to earn this trust. I recognize that my feelings are largely due to some internalized something. But at the end of the day, I was uncomfortable. I know leaning on someone for emotional support can change the dynamics of a relationship. How can I be honest with my friend about my discomfort while not adding to her distress or making her feel as though I do not trust her? Talk to your husband, share your feelings, and set some boundaries. If the situation doesn't stop, friend talks about her struggle, the anxiety, suggest therapy. Husband definitely needs to be clued into the fact that friend might be projecting onto him and setting herself up to have a transference experience, aka a bad time for y'all if y'all don't nip it now. Husband needs to have big fat boundaries in place, and he needs to be exercising them at all times. Talk to him. Remind him that she's emotionally compromised, and he needs to be responsible for the amount of attachment he allows her to form with him right now while she's vulnerable. Make it about them, not about you, because your reaction to their respective impropriety is correct and appropriate. Yeah, I would never ask a friend's partner to rub sunscreen on me. If you're catching a vibe, it's for a reason. Although your husband should have directed her back to you for help with sunscreen application, I can see how he may have gotten caught off guard with her request. What makes these kinds of situations annoying is that people will downplay the inappropriateness and act like it's no big deal because it's just sunscreen, or I was just in a bad headspace and he happened to be there to help me. But in my opinion, this is how the inappropriate friendships start, with the little stuff. I've seen friends make really poor judgment calls when they are going through divorces or other difficult life events. She should probably be talking to a therapist if she isn't already. If you aren't comfortable calling her out on the sunscreen and emotional support thing, then come up with a plan with your husband on how to handle her in the future. He needs to set some boundaries with her. Personally, I don't think you should ignore your gut feeling here. I had a close friend like this who I helped after her marriage ended, etc. I was rewarded by her and my husband, now ex, having an affair. I'd mention it to both of them how you felt, but be wary.